gonna say it loud, 'cause someone out there listening. If you're gonna think it, think out loud, 'cause you don't know what you're missing till you let them all in. Oh, oh, oh. Tell them what it's all about. Oh, oh, oh.
You're listening to the Divorce Registry Podcast, talking about real people, real issues, and real solutions.
I'm Jonathan Fogel, a family law attorney.
And I'm Amanda Johnson, a family law paralegal. This is the Divorce Registry Podcast, where we provide informative, entertaining, and invaluable insights into all aspects of family law. You can reach us at thedivorceregistry@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook.
Amanda and I are partners at work and in life. We are both divorced, and we have 5 kids between the two of us. Some call it chaos. We just call it family.
We call it chaos too.
Yeah, you're right.
The signs say you'll be coming up roses soon. It all comes back to you. It all comes back to you.
Hello, Amanda.
Hey, Jonathan.
How are you?
Good.
Good. It's almost Thanksgiving.
It is. Are you ready?
I am not ready.
Okay.
No, because I don't have to do anything. I have to go pick up a veggie tray.
Oh, well, that works.
Yeah, so I can do that.
That'll be good. Well, it's another holiday, actually, we won't be spending together.
I know. I
think
that's the joy of being a divorced couple that has kids who have parents that both live in town, that we go to each other's, we go to our own family get-togethers. But I do want to come over and maybe afterward and get a Spanish coffee from your dad.
The invite is there. He
I
said
know.
he has it ready for you.
I know. I love those.
I know.
And this is the time of year that I love to come over. Well, that's a great thing about me being Jewish and you not, is that I can come over on Christmas.
That's true.
Right? I don't have to worry about that.
And I can come up to all the Jewish holidays.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I have nothing else to do.
Yes, we do a lot of gatherings and for Spanish coffee.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm excited. So,
Yeah.
But I did try to make a turkey in the crock pot.
You did chicken breast. Or no, not chicken, turkey breast.
It was a turkey breast.
It was really
good. That was
good.
our Thanksgiving dinner together.
It was really good. It
I
only
did make
took
a mistake.
6 hours.
Well, I made a mistake. All right, I made a mistake because I looked up the recipe and it said 2.5 pound turkey breast in the crock pot for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought, okay, 2.5 pounds isn't going to be enough because it was going to be you and me and my kids, right? So I bought 5 pounds. And I didn't double the time. And I was like, why is this not cooked? It's been 3 hours. Why is this not ready?
And I came over after my yoga class, and I was really excited and really hungry.
And ready to eat.
And we didn't eat until probably 9:30.
Yeah. And it was just you and me because my kids
wouldn't eat it.
wouldn't eat it. And they got so hungry they had a frozen pizza instead.
There you go.
So that was our, but I did make gravy and we had potatoes and green beans. So that was our Thanksgiving dinner.
It was, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was very good.
It was very nice. I was glad to have you.
So really quick, before we get into our guests today, I looked online and
We're getting
found
into
some.
our guests? Wow.
Well, we're going to introduce them. I just looked up some quotes, right? I searched divorce quotes.
Okay.
And what, just to see what would come up. And
all right.
Some are really meaningful, and I think one was funny. What do we have? So for when you need to be brave and start over, this is a quote.
Okay.
Your dream doesn't have an expiration date. Take a deep breath and try again.
I like that. I like that.
For when you want a refresher on how to embrace change. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And I'm having trouble reading today.
Yes, but they are very inspirational.
For when you realize that forgiveness is a gift for you, not them. Life becomes easier when you learn to accept an apology you never got.
That's interesting.
And this one is for when your divorce is feeling like an ongoing separation.
Okay.
Taking a thing apart is always faster than putting something together. This is true of everything except marriage.
So that was the funny one?
Yes, that was the funny
Yeah.
one. So I just wanted to say some of those. But today is...
I like those,
Yes,
though.
they're
Thank you.
laughing.
No, I like those. I think that, look, I mean, motivational quotes and those posters, that, with the rock climber or whatever that, says, some inspirational thing. I think they can be corny, but I do think there are times where those kind of things just reminding yourself of that or thinking about things in a different way can be really helpful to get you through some pretty difficult times.
Yeah, it's good reminders.
Yeah.
And so today, in the beginning of our show, we talk about real people.
Yep.
Okay, that is one of our, and today is about real people. And we have two people on that they'll let us know how long they were married, but they have gone through a divorce. They are being brave and coming on and talking with us about it. And we wanted to just keep it real and keep it a conversation. No experts. None of us are experts in this. And I think although you and I can talk about our stuff and what we went through, we also work in the industry. So it's a little different when you have two people who are going through it that knew nothing about the process. So I want to know from them and let our listeners know about how they felt about it and where they're coming out on it. So
Fantastic.
So we'll introduce Rob
Hello.
Wengler and Molly Malinkovich. I got it right.
You did.
Okay.
Thank you both so
Yes.
much for coming on.
Yes. So do one of you kind of want to give us some background, either of you, on the stats? How long were you married?
Stats.
How
Yeah,
many kids?
tell us your statistics.
Did you own a home?
Height,
What your-
weight.
just the basics.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Can you do the math?
we were together, lived together for 17 years,
Yeah, in total.
Yep.
Before and after that, yeah.
and we're married for 13. Mm-hmm. We have a son, Henry, who's 11. Yeah. We had a house in Minnetonka.
Two dogs,
I mean, 2 dogs.
1.5 car garage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes. And you have been divorced now.
Technically divorced
Like
for
2
2 months.
months.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
So it's-
fresh.
yeah.
So we're still in the garden days of divorce. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the honeymoon stage of divorce,
Exactly.
whatever that means.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like
the
that.
garden days.
The garden stage. Okay.
Okay. Can you tell us, and in your own words and how you want to, when you guys started really saying we need to move on, what was that discussion and how did it? I mean, because I think it's not, although you are where you are now and you're doing a lot of right things, it's still not fucking easy, right?
God,
it's
no.
never easy.
It's
Okay.
not easy.
So
No, everyone always is like, you make it look so easy. I'm like, oh, it's so not.
yeah.
It's definitely
Well,
not.
You can correct me if you disagree, Molly. But I mean, it's kind of been like it was an ongoing thing. We kind of went away and we came back together years ago, and then we had some trouble just a little over a year ago, and we were kind of on the fence: should we do it? Should we not? And then it was January. We said, you know what? Why we're kind of just wasting our time here. Let's move on. And I don't know, maybe to some degree, the fact that we've been back and forth through it for so long, we were kind of past the crisis stage of it,
Right.
And so at that point, it was just kind of a mechanical, all right, let's do that thing.
Yeah, we have had our ups and downs. And we were literally just talking on the car ride here about the first time we separated was
6 years ago.
6 years ago. And if we had gotten a divorce then, it wouldn't have been like this.
Okay.
It would have been
Angry.
and we wouldn't have been here. It wouldn't have been this way. So we've done a lot of work together and separately on ourselves and on how we communicate that has allowed us to move through it at this point in this way.
Yeah.
So there have been times in the past few years, if we had decided then, it would not have looked like this.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And when you did decide to move forward, tell us a little bit about what you were looking for out there to help you get through a divorce process without naming any names of maybe bad.
Oh, yeah.
There are things that didn't work for you,
Yeah.
but and then where you ended up and how you went through the process.
Well, I think the reason why too is, I mean, there's a lot of people that are listening that may be right where you guys were a few years ago or a year ago, and they're like, well, who do I call? Do I go find my own attorney? It can be very intimidating, especially you don't want to make a wrong move and then the other person is upset because maybe you're further ahead than the other. I mean, how did you guys, back to Amanda's question, how did that come about and where did you go to look for the right person or people to help?
Well, I mean, first of all, our setup was a little different. So we've never combined money. We didn't have any of that. So we didn't really need someone to navigate that piece. And so when talking to friends, I had a friend who recommended the mediation process. And so she gave me the name of someone, and we went and met with that person because we didn't really feel like we needed to each have our own lawyer and do it that didn't ever feel like the way we needed to do it. And so we met with that person, and it felt like a longer process than we knew we needed, in a more intricate process.
Well,
Wouldn't you describe it that way? I mean,
it felt more like I don't know, for lack of a better term, it seems like there's a sort of stereotypical process that you just assume you're going to go through. We're going to get lawyers and we're going to fight and do that. And we did no desire to do that. But the first lawyer we met with, I felt like kind of assumed that that's what we wanted.
Sure.
Right? We wanted, which we absolutely didn't. We kind of knew what we wanted to happen. We just needed somebody to facilitate it.
so it would have been helpful had we not already just kind of known how we wanted to move forward. So they were offering resources like family planning, how to co-parent, like all of those
And
things.
like financial investigators and all this.
Which some people need
Yeah,
all of that.
sure.
They don't know how they want to navigate that. It just, for us, we walked out going, oh, this feels like too much of a process.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
not there. So
You were already kind of past that stuff.
To some degree.
to some degree, and also I feel like we knew we would just figure it out pretty
Okay.
easily on our own.
And I don't know, again, you can disagree with me if you want. A lot of people, I've spoken to like 1,000 people since then, and a lot of people, there's just a lot of desire out there to kind of, get revenge or get what's right, and neither of us had that. I had no desire to leave her in a terrible state or punish her, and she had no desire to rake me over the coals. And so we just sort of sat down and said, okay, what do you want? What do I want? Okay, fine.
Well, and I think that came from knowing that if we did that to one another, the main person that was going to be hurt is our kid.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
So we never wanted to leave him in a situation where he couldn't continue to have a great life. And so if I had gone after Rob and been like, I want this and I want the money and I want the house and the whatever, Henry would have been the one that would have had a big life change. And neither one of us wanted that for him.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really, I mean, some great insight, because a lot of people that we see that come into our office or that we hear about or we talk to, they're not at that point where they do have kids together, and yet they're willing to engage in a type of litigation that really puts their kid in a tough position and leaves them in a difficult situation moving forward. I mean, I know when I went through my divorce, and I know you as well, Amanda, that my number one priority was to be able to move forward where my kids could celebrate their birthdays with their parents both there, or when they get married, or when they had their bar and bat mitzvahs, or whatever special occasion, that their mom and I could be in the same room together, and they didn't have to worry about, oh my God, should I look at dad? Well, mom might be upset. Should I go and hug mom? Dad might be. I never wanted anything like that, and I think that's what I'm hearing you say, is that you guys realize that if you do fight, if you do make the divorce about revenge or some sort of, getting back at the other person, the person that's going to really suffer is your child or your kids. Because that can't be repaired. That's a really tough thing, and they see that stuff.
Well, and it's hard enough on him even still, even how we are. It's hard on him. I mean, now he has to go back and forth, and he has this will be the first Thanksgiving that we're not all
And
together.
what does he say? What does he say to you?
I mean, he's a pretty insightful kid. So the other thing too is I never hide how I'm feeling about anything from him. I don't try to protect him. So he sees me crying, and we talk about like, this is hard. This is sad. This is, feeling very different and new and uncertain. And so I think that opens up a door for him. But sometimes he's like, no, I'm fine. And then other days he's like, I'm really tired of going back and forth, or I just want to, and the other thing between Rob and I is, if Henry comes to me and is like, I really just feel like being in my bedroom at the house tonight with Dad, I can call Rob and say, hey, what are you doing? Henry really feels like he wants to be home. Can he stay with you tonight? So we have a little bit different way of doing it that way,
But you're
too.
listening to him. You're listening to him, and it's not about you and what you guys want.
Yeah.
It's about what he needs and wants, and he's learning to verbalize that, which is, an amazing gift.
Well, and also, like last night, I wasn't supposed to have him, but I'm just feeling super sad about not being with him on Thanksgiving. So I was able to call Rob and say, hey, would you be cool if he stayed with me tonight? I really just want some time with him. And then I tell Henry that too. Like, I'm feeling really sad about not being with you. So thanks for letting me hang with you tonight.
Right.
Like, we're just super open with our communication about what's going on our end, I feel like, too, which opens it up for him.
Well, I think that's really important. I think that there's certainly a huge benefit for kids to see their parents being human, right? And being vulnerable, right? I mean, we also protect them. Our job is to make sure they're okay and all that. And we don't want to be laying on the floor a complete mess all the time, right? I mean, there's times where we have to be the adult, right? Sometimes, yeah. Trust me, I did that for a few months when I was going through my divorce. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to get out of bed at day. I mean, there were days that were really, really tough. I mean, and so I completely get that. But I think you're doing a good thing by letting him see that, you know, we're human too. We get sad and we have a hard time, and to verbalize that, I think teaches kids a really good lesson that they can talk about those things. They don't have to, you know, stuff their feelings down and not verbalize how they're feeling.
Well, and also letting him know we don't have all the answers. So big questions for him were, like at the time in the spring when we let him know that this was going to be happening, he had, of course, big questions around holidays. Like, what about Christmas? That was, I think, one of the first things he asked. So being able to say to him, too, we don't know. Like, it might look like this, but it might not.
Right.
So
we could make plans now, but
No promises.
no promises.
Right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll do what we're doing.
Right.
Well, and for my kids, I mean, I was married for 16 years, and their whole lives, we would always go up to Door County, Wisconsin on the holidays and see their mom's family because she's Lutheran and I'm Jewish. So Christmas, our holidays were always easy, right? It was like, oh, we're going to go with your family on the Christian holidays and we'll spend time with my families on the Jewish holidays, which worked out great. And that first year that I didn't go was really hard for me. I mean, you remember, I probably cried the whole weekend not being able to go.
Your kids cried.
And my kids cried because I couldn't go. And they still to this day, 7 years later, like, God, I wish you could come with us to Door County. And I wish that was so fun. And I'm like, I totally agree. We had the greatest time, and we can find other things to do and make new traditions.
Well, and that's, I think, exactly where we are this week right now. This week, I'm in that exact position where this is the first time that I'm not going to Malibu. Like, Henry's never been to see Rob's sister without me. And for me,
which is
sitting
your
on
favorite place to be.
It's my favorite place on the planet.
I know.
So, I mean, to sit back, and I could have gone, but I also recognize it's time to start finding new traditions and new ways to celebrate and new ways to be together. And so I think I cried 5 times yesterday. But it's that week where it's like, I have no idea what this looks like. I still don't know what I'm doing on Thursday for Thanksgiving because nothing feels right. I'm in that in-between space, and
they're making Spanish coffee at Amanda's
Aaron's house.
There you go.
Far from
I'll be driving all over. I'll have some coffee now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is definitely an in-between space where it's not quite your new life, but it's definitely not what has been. And it feels really uncomfortable and scary, and to recognize that all 3 of us are navigating that in different ways too. So this week is extra hard for me, whereas Rob will be with Henry and his family, and it might not feel as hard. But then there might be times when that's happening on his side or with Henry too.
Right.
So
Right. So let's bring it back to where you ended up and what process you did go through to go through your divorce and what worked for you.
So when we had kind of, sort of talked about the theoretical, what it would be like for years. And but when we decided we were really going to do it, we just sort of sat down and said, okay, what does this mean for each of us? What do we want out of it? And there really wasn't a lot of, luckily for us, fighting about who wanted what. And we were both very agreeable and understood that, I don't know, the important things were important and the unimportant things weren't unimportant. And there's no point fighting over something stupid. And again, I've talked to people who are like getting in drag-out fights over the lawnmower. And it's like, who cares? It's a lawnmower. You can get another lawnmower.
Go buy a lawnmower for $300
exactly.
instead of spending $3,000 in attorney's fees.
It's exactly what I told them. And they're like, well, that's not the point. He doesn't deserve it. It's like, well, who cares? Deserve's got nothing to do with it.
Right.
Just do what's best and get it done with.
I'd say the closest thing we've come to fighting about are Vikings season tickets,
That
which
is-
we did
You mean who
not.
doesn't want them?
We did not put it in the paperwork.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
We did not even address it because we were like, oh, we'll just go to the games together, which
Yeah.
was naive.
Yeah, we go to some together, but
But
not,
it's like it was. But yeah, I think it started to, in almost like not a joking way, but we kind of broke the ice with it. We'd literally walk around the house probably maybe last year at this time, maybe a little bit later, and I'd be like, oh, I want that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Put
I
your
mean,
little
seriously,
stickies
we
on it?
did.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
kind of like, and it was kind of a joke, but not really. It
Yeah.
was like our way to break into that conversation, I think, in a comfortable way.
Yeah.
And literally, there was nothing that.
Well, and so much you wanted to simplify your life so much. So there wasn't anything you really wanted aside from a couple things. And so it wasn't like I had to make huge sacrifices. And to that point, too, like, you want a TV, take a TV. I'll get a new TV.
Right.
You know, don't sweat
Right.
that kind of stuff. And it's not like she wanted my grandmother's crystal or something stupid.
Right.
So
You guys were both respectful of the fact that, let's say you said, I wanted this, and Rob said, well, look, that really means, that's sentimental to me. That means something. You guys were respectful enough to say, okay, if it means that much to you, then
Right.
I'll find something else. Or
Yeah.
with you, like you said, with a TV, it's like, you want the TV? I'll go get a new TV. I'll figure it out. Or maybe
Yeah.
we don't need an extra
15
TV
TVs
in
in the
that
house, yeah.
room.
Yeah.
We can live without an extra TV for a little
Yeah.
while. I mean, and I think that's a great lesson for people to learn, that stuff is just stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that are
Totally.
way more important than the stuff.
And I think so by the time we came and to you with the conversation, we already had a bit of a roadmap. I mean, there were
Right.
definitely, what we knew is we wanted to make sure that there weren't things you don't know what you don't know. So we wanted somebody's eyes on it
Yes.
that
Yeah.
knew the nuances of, oh, people sometimes forget to address this, or there's this thing or whatever, which is where we landed in coming to you to sit down and say, hey, where are our gaps? Is there anything we're forgetting? But for the most part,
Yeah, we didn't feel we needed to pay a mediator to discuss who get the serving spoon.
Right.
You know, take
Right,
it, don't
but
take
you
it.
did hire Jonathan as a
Yes.
mediator.
Yeah.
That being
But in a
said,
much more,
in a
like-
way of, you guys came in with your roadmap and what you wanted, and he just sat down with both of you, and this cut time out of, I mean, so much time out of you paying
Right.
anymore to deal with all of this, and he just helped draft the language and draft the document and worked with
Yeah.
both of you, and I
Yeah.
don't know, a couple hours? Were you even there
I don't
a
even
couple
think
hours?
it was 2 hours.
It was
like
maybe a
90
couple
minutes.
hours, because what you guys did, and as a mediator, I love cases like the one that you guys had, because you came in already with an idea of what you wanted. And my job as a mediator isn't to talk anybody out of reaching an agreement. My job is to facilitate that agreement and put it in the terms that a judge will end up signing off on your divorce decree, right? There were certain things that had to be in there about support or
Right.
about, certain property. We had to identify everything and put it in there. And because neither of you had an attorney, you then had, because you have a child together and neither of you were represented, you had to go and be in front of a judge for
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Exactly
Or
right,
however
yeah.
long it
Yeah.
was, where the judge just looked at both of you and said, is this what you agree on? Is this what
She
you
actually
agree
didn't even
on?
say that. She said, I would just like, she said, all I'd like to say to you two is congratulations. She's
Right.
like, you
No, she said-
navigated this really well.
And she literally said, whoever wrote up this document did a really
Yes.
good job. She literally
She
said
did say that.
There
Yeah.
you
Well,
go.
I mean,
that's the
props
run.
to
That's
you.
why. And that's why we brought you on the show.
No, I mean, she did. She said, the way you've done this will allow you to be great co-parents and make life easier for your child. And I mean, literally, that was the entire
Yeah.
thing was good job. And
Yeah.
your attorney did a good job. Like, that
Yeah.
was the whole conversation.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and I'll tell you, I mean, people, when I go to court with as an attorney, when I'm representing somebody and the other person has an attorney, and it kind of goes that traditional litigation route, the judges sit up there and they tell us this all the time off the record. They tell the attorneys this, look, we don't want to make decisions for people. We don't want to decide who's going to have the kids and who's going to have the retirement accounts or the house. They're like, the last thing we want to do is make those decisions. Their job is to make that decision, and they'll do it if they have to. But they'll sit there and they'll look at both parties and they'll say to them, this is your life, your money, your kids.
Right.
You want to keep control of this stuff. You don't want me to make these decisions. Be smart, work with your attorneys, try to work it out. And I can't tell you how many times I come back from those hearings. And my client, I'll tell you, the judge said all these things, and my client's like, yeah, they're talking to them, not me, because I'm being reasonable. I'm like, no, they're talking to both of you. It takes an effort from both of you to compromise and come to these agreements. And I'm sure a lot of it wasn't easy. I mean, you're sitting here now a couple months post-divorce, and people might be listening going, that's not ever going to be me because we hate each other or we don't get along. I mean, any idea of
there
how
are times
people
you probably have
we
not
for sure have screamed at each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not in the last few months. Actually, after making the final decision to go through the divorce was when everything relaxed a little bit, I would say.
We got along better the day after we did that. So.
Yep. I feel like just
that tension was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there have been times in the last few years where we have screamed at each other.
Sure.
I mean, it's not all been sunshine and roses.
But, okay, of the many sage advice, and you're talking about motivational policies, one of the things that I kind of try to stick with is as long as you let somebody hurt you, as long as you stay angry with them and don't forgive them, they get to keep hurting you. Mm-hmm. So what's the point? It's an emotional thing, but in both sides are going to be mad that you did this to me and I did that to you, and I'm going to hate you forever. Just forgive them and get on with it and get on with your life, and then you can be happy again. But I talk to these people, and they just cling to it.
Right.
And they're miserable. I'm like, let it go. Why do you carry that?
Do you have either of you have people in your life, whether family, friends, or whatever, that maybe were not the best voice?
Almost
Is it
every
behind
single
you?
person.
Really, you did have a lot of it.
Oh
Okay.
my word.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I won't name names.
Yeah, don't name
No,
names.
no,
I don't-
please
who
don't.
you are. No. I
Rob
mean,
still
really,
has to see
though,
some of those people.
Rob and I are friends.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it is confusing to people. And a lot of people are very traditional about, well, if it wasn't horrible, just stick it out.
Stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe, I can't speak for you, that being fine isn't the way I want to live my life.
Right.
I want to have a great life.
Nor what
And
you want to show Henry.
No, exactly. So I think people were confused a little bit. And then there were other people who were like, oh, yeah, you guys have just been friends for a while. Yeah. But everyone has an opinion.
And how do you deal with that? Because, I mean, I deal with that. You deal with that. I mean, I see clients that deal with that, they have people chirping in their ear, no, do this. Like you were talking about, Rob, you see people that are going through divorce that all they want is revenge, right? When you have those people just chirping in your ear constantly, how do you stay focused on the big picture, which is Henry, or which is the fact that you two are going to be co-parents for the rest of his life?
A lot of, on my end, I'll speak for me and then you can speak for you. It's what I do for a living.
Yes. Yes.
I am a leadership coach, and it literally has been years and years and years of personal work to be able to do that, and not just in divorce. I mean, everybody has opinions about your life and everything you do. So to be able to be clear on what I want and where I'm headed, and to be able to listen and love people, but not have them impact me in that way or impact my decisions, literally is a daily practice and something I've been working on for years. So that's how it works for me. I don't know about you.
The analogy is like you're walking on a path, and it's tough and it's hard and stuff like that. And then you have people walking through the sewage and the shit telling you how you're supposed to be doing. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. Right. And this is hard and stuff, but I think I'm in a good spot. And so that's not to say I haven't gotten good advice. Yeah. And honestly, Amanda gave me some of the best advice 6 years ago I've gotten from anybody ever, which is, Rob, things are going to be different, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? And she told me that, and I thought about it. I'm like, she's right. I will be okay. It will be different, and maybe I'll be with somebody again. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be a hermit who lives in the North Woods. Maybe I'll, whatever. But I'll be okay. I know I'll be okay. And just accept that. Things are going to be fine. You'll be okay.
Nothing's how it ever is planned either. I mean, I didn't plan to be in a relationship and not living with the person I've been with for 6 years. There's some, and working together, and which makes it honestly harder.
But there's got to be some appeal to not living with them, though, too. Right?
Oh, trust me, I like my.
I think she's doing it on purpose.
It's like, when are we moving in together?
No, we
but
tried that.
It's just never going to be what you have envisioned.
No.
It's
No.
not, and if you can kind of flow with it, and that's why we talk about the fact that we're in therapy. We're proactively in therapy. So I don't want to go in when we're already like pulling apart. So it's just, you got to
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, through the process, and this might be different for us, but it was helpful for me, you're the only two in it, right? You're the only two who are actually in it.
Yeah.
So there were times, I moved out in May, and there were days that were so scary and sad and hard. And the only person I really could talk to about it who got it was Rob. Like, I would call him, and I mean, there were times when I was like hysterically sobbing. I'm like, there's no one else who understands that this is scary and sad and hard and still what we're going to do. Like, it's just because it's what you know 100% to do doesn't mean it's easy. And so the only other person sometimes who gets that is the person you're in it with.
Yeah.
And so we also had each other through that, which not a lot of people allow themselves to have. They feel like they have to pull apart from that person and can't use that person as a friend through the process when that person might be the only one who would really get it.
Right. And I think a lot of that is trust, right? I mean, when you're in a marriage, you're in a relationship, trust is so important. And then when you're going through divorce, that trust somehow is broken, for whatever reason, right? Everyone's got their own reasons. And the fact that I think you hit it exactly on the head. The two of you are the most important people in this process, especially if you have kids, right? Your kids need you guys to be on the same team, right? Which is raising them, right? And so the fact that you can still trust that, okay, if I call Rob and be vulnerable, he's not going to use that against me.
Right.
And vice versa. And I think that's what people get so scared of, is that if I call the other person and I tell them I'm vulnerable, man, they're going to jump on that. They're going to use that. They're going to, say I'm not emotionally stable and I'm going to take my kids. I mean, there's so much fear and lack of trust through that process that if we could get over that and understand that other person is really a support for us and not our enemy, it can make the process easier and hopefully better for your kids.
And for the record, some days still we really don't like each other.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I don't want to pretend that we're like perfect and like nothing's. I mean, there are days when we just don't want to talk to each other, or be around each other, or we irritate each other, or
I hung up on you the other day.
yeah.
On the phone.
I mean, it's a real thing. So it's not. I don't want to come on here and pretend that it isn't.
It's sunshine and lollipops.
Yeah,
And that we,
no,
yeah,
right.
no, it's
Right. It's hard
Yeah.
work.
we just recognize it for what it is, and don't
Yeah.
make more of it than it needs to be.
I feel like I need to add that disclaimer.
No, and
I agree.
I think we're gonna have to end it there.
Yeah.
We've been going. I mean, this has been fantastic, and I think the takeaway is it's not all sunshine and roses. The fact that the two of you are able to sit here together and talk about it, though, hopefully will give other people the hope and understanding that they can eventually do that as well. So thank you both so
Thank you
much.
so much.
No problem.
And
Thank you.
enjoy
guys.
Malibu.
I probably will.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Molly's gonna go cry.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.
The information in this podcast was for general purposes only. The information provided was not legal advice or a legal opinion. You should seek the advice of legal counsel of your own choice before acting upon any information from this podcast. Contacting us by phone or any other means does not establish an attorney-client relationship.